Okay, in the last video we seeded our data into the database. Here we added 5 user, 5 tasks, right? Okay, so now let's work on the controller stuff. Let me clear this out, go down here. Okay, close this seeder, close this factory, close this factory, right? And now I'm going to create API endpoints, right? So we are creating the API endpoints. So let's go to the routes and API.php file, not the web.php file, right? And here later on we will also apply this middleware. So for now I'm adding this out here, right? Okay, so I'm going to add a route, right? And then I'm going to add a prefix. So hope you are familiar with the prefix and as method. So basically I don't want to repeat one thing again and again, so that's why I'm adding this prefix with my routes. So here I'm adding this v1. It's mean that version 1. I'll explain in a minute why I'm adding this v1. Okay, let's group this function and then add this like this. So here why I'm adding this prefix, because I will always use this v1 in my all of the routes I'm going to create now, right? So it will first to add the API, then slash v1. And why I'm adding this v1, because there is only one version, right? If you have only one version, so then also add this v1. Why? Because in future if you have any other version, so you don't need to play around with the first version, like you need to first to rename this from task to first add the v1 and then slash task. That is a good thing to first add the v1 at the very beginning, even you don't have any second version. But in the future if you have the second one, you can just add the v2 and your v1 is also working fine. Otherwise you need to modify the previous endpoint. And if you gave this endpoint to someone else and you will change this, so it will frustrate the user that endpoint is changed, right? So make sure these things. And now here I'm going to create a crud of task. Okay, route, and here I'm going to use the api resource, right? Okay, and then I'm going to name this task, right? I'm going to use the API controller, right, which we created in the previous video. So it would be the task controller, and if I hit enter, so it will be automatically added at the top. So I already told you that how I'm adding this using the VS Code extension. So this one is adding this API task controller, right? And let's complete this with the class. Okay, so now this one is API task, and you can also view this what are the endpoints now, right? And here you can type php artisan route list to see all of the routes. And if you want to see only API routes, you just type this flag and API. Oh, it doesn't exist. Maybe a single. No. Okay, no problem. Just list this down. You can set this at how you can only yes, I think accept is used to accept, and other one is used to fetch the only specific one. So this one is API v1 task, API v1 task post method, fetch and update and delete, right? And here this one contain v1 dot task. Okay, let's add here dot, so then it will differentiate it, right? So just hit enter again. So now it's added v1 dot task dot index. So now you can clearly understand that why I added this v1 v1. So it's added in the all of the routes. I added this at the top, so it will be added into the all of the route, which will be the group of this route, right? And also this one would be the name of the route. Okay, fine. Let's clear this out, this down here. Now in the task controller, if I go here and return this task all, I'm going to now returning task all without any API resource. So later on we will also create the API resource. Hit enter all and we will return all of the task, right? Okay, and the endpoint will be API slash v1 slash task, right? So I'm not going to open this into the web browser because we will also send the post request. So we need to create the form. So that's why we are going to use the postman, right? Okay, I opened the postman and here I have previous API stuff, right? I'm not going to use anyone. I'm going to create a new collection, and for each project you can create the collection. Here created new collection, and here I'm going to name this uh, API development, right? It's named this API development, and here I'm going to create a new request inside this, right? So just click on this, add request, right? So this would be the oh, before this I'm going to create another directory here inside it. Why? Because here I'm going to name this web, right? Because we will create the web APIs and we will also create the SPAs API. So that's why I'm going to move this inside this. Okay, now it's inside this web, right? Inside the web I have created a new request, and let me rename this new request. I'm going to name this index, right? So index means that it will fetch all of the tasks. Okay, and of course this will be the get request. And now what's our URL? So our URL would be the, if I go here and this one is my my application path, right? And I can specify that API slash v1. And if in your case it would be the, maybe you are using localhost, so 8000 you are running like this, so you can copy this one, right? So I'm not using this out, so that's why it's not working in my case. It's working when you run PHP artisan serve, right? So you can copy this and add it into your postman, right? And then type API slash v1 slash task like this. But in my case it's a custom domain, right? So I'm going to copy this one and replace it with this 8000 stuff, this one, right? API development test, and then remove this one slash. Now it's fine. So if I will send this request, so it will return the all task send, yes, and yes, it's returning first task, second task, and so on, right? It's returning expected result, right? And you can also preview this like this, but this one is a pretty JSON format. And here, now if I will give this endpoint to the front-end engineer, he will not be able to use this, so not easily able to use this overall this JSON object, right? Because there is no property to for each all of the task and to display their names, right? So we need to wrap this into a property, and then we will use this. So for example, our data properties, we will use our data property and then apply the for each and make this separate to task and display the task names like this. So how to wrap this into the data object, right? So there is a now API resource comes in the Laravel, and Laravel already created these features, right? Okay, so open this here and type how you can make the resource. So Laravel commands are pretty descriptive. So PHP artisan make what, make resource, right? Resource, and what's the resource name? It's a task resource, right? Hit enter. It will create the directory inside the http, right? And if I go ahead and controller, yes, resources directory is added here, and this contain the task resource, right? So go down here, Okay, so basically it's using the to array. I'm not going to change this now. I want to show you that what I want to highlight. So here in the task controller, when you want to use the API resource, so you can do this like uh, task resource, and then there is a method of collection, right, which is used to return the all tasks. It means that return the collection. If you want to return only one task, there is a make method which is used here instead of collection. Okay, and in the collection we need these task all, right? Just paste this here. Okay, and then simply return it like this. So now let's go here and send this request again. And yes, now this overall object is wrapped inside a property which is data. So now front-end engineer can easily get this data property and then apply the for each loop on it, right? And then easily iterate it through the, okay, you got it, how we created the task resource, right? How we pass these action, right? And now question comes that I don't want to return this id, this created time and updated time, right? So I want to return only specific column. So how to do this? So just go here, go to this task resource which we created right now, remove this parent one and create a new array like this, right? And here specify you want to return. So I want to return the name of task, right? So here you can access this access to your task using this so keyword, and then you can specify this name, so to return the task name. So it's know that it's a task because we are passing the tasks from the controller. And then status, and then you can add this status. Okay, save this one, and now if I will hit this send button, so it will return only name and status. Send, and yes, it's returning only name and status. So that's the beauty of these API resource. We can you can filter only specific columns here. For example, we have two types of APIs. First one contain the full collection, and other one contain only specific columns from the collections. We can create two versions here, right? So that's the simplicity of this one. And by the way, if you have any relation, so for example in the task model you have a user relation, so how you will call the user relation? So username, you want to display the username, so you will behave you can do this like this means that you are referencing the task and then define the task. For example, if I go to the task model, and here you have public function and you have a user which belongs to multiple tasks, right? So how you can call this? So here you can call this simply like this and user name, so this will return the user name, right? So it's identical as you are using this in your controllers. Okay, close this one, and here we are returning only specific column. So let me also check the video size, it's going a little bit bigger, but I'm explaining all of the concepts here clearly and I don't want to confuse my students, right? And yes, here we created these pull the specific version. So let's send it again, and yes, it's working fine. And that's it for this video, and in the next video we are going to load only first record and so on things. And this series is going very amazing because we are going to authenticate our APIs, and on the YouTube you wouldn't find these type of tutorial. And if you want to support my channel and support my mission, so subscribe my channel and share it with your friends, and I will meet you in the next one. Bye bye.